Hi everyone, this is just an in-depth look at Bathurst in the Formula Renault 2.0. Lap time was at 202.6. I didn't have an extreme amount of laps under my belt, but I felt that was a pretty clean lap overall. Just coming up to the first braking zone to start the lap. Now it's important to be conservative into here, as if you push past the braking marker, you often go wide and into the sand and you lose a lot of time, but if you brake too early you often hit the inside curb, so accuracy is really important around this track. So I'm braking just at the, I'm actually braking a little bit earlier because I'm starting lap. I'm using that second pole here as the braking marker and braking just before it starts. You're getting an early apex and pushing the car out. Now coming down into one, you're wanting to brake just at the 50 metre marker, maybe a touch before. It's very important to deliver the car to the inside apex, and if you push it wide you'll lose a lot of time as the car tends to scramble for traction on the outside curb. So entry, just loading the brake up slightly before the 50 metre marker. And you're getting it in. Not quite touching the inside curb, just getting it on that white strip next to it. Accelerating hard out. That was quite a good run through there because I didn't clip the inside curb or get excessively up on the outside curb. It's quite a hard corner to get consistently right. Flat out up here, using all the revs available. Now the braking marker into this turn is the 50 metre marker. You want to brake at it, get down into fourth and hug tight on that inside apex and power the car out. Unlike the GT cars around here, you don't want to use the outside curbing as it unsettles this car too much and catches the rear end. I've been doing quite a lot of laps around here in the Ferrari 488. And it's a lot more forgiving on the curbs than these open wheelers. You kind of have to approach these cars very differently if you've been driving GT cars around here. So after 50, down to fourth at the apex, hug tight and push the car out. That there was about the limit of the outside curbing you want to use. Even that was maybe slightly too much. But I got away with that. It's important to do it sort of in one smooth motion. I find a lot of people miss the inside apex and it costs you a lot of time in this run up. You've got to make sure you get right in there before getting on hard on the throttle. Now this left-hander here is flat on entry, so you just want to turn the car in, get it close to the wall, and then run it out wide for entry into this next corner. Now this whole section here is one smooth motion. It looks like three corners, but you kind of have to treat it like one. If you push the car out, you've got to get close here to get the optimal line, quite close to that inside wall, but you don't want to push this car out too wide, as I find the track kind of cambers off out towards the barrier, and it's easy to get it trapped in there and just lock the brakes, and at that point you're just a passenger straight into the wall. So you want to get it out wide, sort of hit the brakes to slow it down and smoothly turning close to this inside apex before pushing it up the hill. So not completely out wide. Turning slightly under brakes, get in tight to that left-hander and push it up. Now just flat through here. Now this car is capable of doing this next corner flat, which isn't that common for most cars around here. So you just want to go out wide, just hold it flat, turn in, don't clip the inside curbing, and then just tight to that inside apex. If you clip that inside curb there, you're in trouble. Now again up here, if the car's set up properly, which I have it on fairly low rear wing, so it's just up through here, it can make it tricky, but this track you need a lot of front end too, despite it being a low downforce track. Now you're just going out wide, holding it flat, turning into the inside apex there. I don't tend to want to use all the track, so I'm getting close to the barriers, but not too close. You don't tend to need to do that in this car. In cars with the less strong front end, like a GT car, you do have to use basically all the track, and you're also not touching the curbs. So this is probably the hardest bit of this top end section. You want to enter from wide, close to that outside curbing, and turn in and get the car up on this left-hand curbing, but you don't want to lift. It's just flat through there. So again, just one swooping motion. Sometimes getting on the inside curb can unsettle the car a little bit, but if you've got the setup right, it should be quite easy to go through there without going out to this outside curbing. Now, setting up into, I believe this is called Skyline. I'm braking before the coat's higher board, maybe a car length before it, and then you've got to get the car completely over to the right. This is the trickiest part of the track. So getting it fairly close to the outside wall, and you want to bring the front left wheel up on the curb in the middle of the corner, like that. Then again, now if you carry a fair bit of momentum through there, which you are going to want to do, the car at this point will want to sort of push past this apex. You've got to sort of stop it on the front brakes and keep it fairly tight to the right, as you need to stick right to get back to the next left. So keep it on that right hand curbing, then back left again, which opens up that corner. This is very easy to get wrong, this section, but if you go offline a little bit, pushing too hard, you're in the barrier, or you're losing a lot of time. So close to that right hand curb, one wheel on that left hand curb, hugging right through here, kind of over slowing the car. Again, very tight to that left hand corner, and then you can take a good line through there and go flat to that right hander. Now this is again, I'll just show that in fast motion. Now this is again a tricky corner, because if you get the braking marker a bit too late or you over brake, you're off into the barrier at Forest Elbow. So I'm sort of lifting around here, lifting at this apex and getting on the brake fairly early. I know a lot of people do like to dive the car in there, but I think it's very important to get a tight apex coming into Forest Elbow, as there's a lot of bumps on the inside of the track, and if you're not hitting those bumps at a very acute angle, they tend to push the car wide. You need to leave enough angle on the car to allow it to hit the bumps, but still not understeer to the outside wall. So braking, so getting it really close to that inside curbing there. Now it does hit a few bumps at the apex and that pushes it out, but it still allows me to get hard in the throttle and exit the corner out fast and not get too unsettled by it. So this section as a whole. This is all basically one section. If you're offline in any of it, then you're going to have real trouble through the rest of it. Now getting the car flat through here and fairly stable under braking, so you can position it into the inside apex. Then accelerating hard out. Now just flat down this back conrod straight. Using the higher gearing, it shouldn't bounce hard off the rev limiter. Now, coming through here, it's important to get your braking marker dead on right. I like using where the yellow signage goes to the red signage, as I find that's a good consistent braking marker. And I'm going down into fourth on entry. Now you can go third through there, but I find it sometimes unsettles the car a little bit on throttle, especially if you've got lower rear wing on, so I just tend to leave it safe in fourth. You may give away half a tenth, but don't want to be throwing your lap away this later section. Get close to the inside apex and then just push it out to the outside apex. Now again here, using that telegraph pole there as the braking marker and braking roughly at it. keeping the car into a very early apex, but don't clip that inside curving or else it will launch you out to the sand. And that's a lap. I got a bit too eager on throttle there and I caught a bit of oversteer, probably cost about half a tenth, but overall it's pretty minimal in the scheme of things. Around this track you kind of have to learn where you can give away slight amounts of time but keep consistency and safety, because in qualifying in the race you just can't afford to push on the absolute limit. Like, you need to learn where to push and where to kind of conserve. But overall, fantastic track in this car. I think it's probably one of the hardest tracks we'll visit, but that's what makes it most rewarding when you get it right.